You're listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Nicholas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build $1 billion company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a billion-dollar empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Welcome to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the lone Filipina representative at the United Nations, 190 countries, and she represents the Philippines in the Summit for the Future at the United Nations. And that is my good friend, Maica Teves. Welcome, Maica.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being in this podcast. So I'd like you to explain, what are you going to say as the representative of the Philippines at this United Nations Summit of the Future?
Well, basically, I'm focusing on the topics that are dear to me and dear, of course, to my organization, Spark Philippines, which is on gender and climate. So we'd like to discuss how we can get solutions for long-term problems in these areas and how we can have access to financing for different programming for these programs.
Okay, so there are two items that you said. One is gender and the other one is climate. So let's talk about gender. How was it that you are chosen by the UN to speak on gender?
Well, in the Philippines, I work as the executive director of Spark Philippines. We are consultants for gender and development for national agencies such as Pag-ibig Fund, which is the housing authority, the BIR, or which is the taxing authority like the IRS in the US. And we also work with local government units where we create their programming, their plans and budgets, on how national agencies utilize this so that their budget are best utilized for marginalized sectors such as women and the LGBTIQ+.
Wow, that is so much. So it seems like that's a lot of things. So tell me, what did you study? Were you in college? Was it already directed towards, those items, gender, economic development, etc.?
No, not at all. In fact, my undergrad was political science. I worked in both the House of Representatives in Congress, and I also worked at the Philippine Senate.
That's political. And do I take it Teves is a political family?
Well, my family is, but however, I am not.
Okay. So tell just a little bit of your background because I know I have a classmate at St. Teresa's College whose father was a congressman. But tell me the political aspect of your background.
Well, my great-grandfather was the very first governor of Negros Oriental. And his vice governor was my grandmother, on my paternal side. And both of them, of course, had different ways of leadership. My great-grandmother, Maria Diaz, she was very loved in our province. She never even campaigned. Oftentimes, she'd even travel outside of the country. But she had so much civic consciousness, wherein she even received an award from the Papal Award from the Pope for building churches, for her scholarships, building schools, educating different young men and women.
That's great. So that's you're on the father, and both the father and your mother's side, they were already involved with service, government service.
Yes.
So that's why you decided political science.
Well, I did want to enter into public service, but throughout also my career in Congress and the Senate, I also realized that there's so much you can do even without a position.
your experience or what you're handling now at the United Nations seems very widespread in terms of knowledge, experience. So can you just give to the audience, your educational background?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I took up political science. I took up law. I also took up sustainability in Stockholm.
Really, you took up law also?
Yes.
So are you did you take the bar?
Yes, I took the bar exams
Oh my God, she's also another lawyer like me. Okay, and that is at what school?
in Silliman
In
University.
Silliman. Okay, that's in the south. We call Silliman the UP of the south. Okay, continue please.
Yes, but really it was purely by accident. My boss at the Senate, Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr., had called me one day and he said, I'd like you to volunteer for a presidential campaign. And I was quite hesitant, but he said, Micah, you know campaigns very well. And there I had met Vicky Garchitorena. And of course, Vicky is a pillar in the NGO community. And I gave it my all in the campaign. And after the elections were over, I was ready to join a corporate job. But I got a call from Vicky and she offered me a job in an NGO. And to be quite honest, I turned her down because I told her, Miss Vicky, I know what salaries are like for nonprofit. And I have may mga luho sa buhay. But Miss Vicky told me, Micah, you're the most passionate person I know. You're the first to enter the office, the last to go home.
Wow.
And I think NGO is for you. So I told her, okay, I'll give it a try for 6 months. And 9 years later, I'm still here.
Wow, that is beautiful. So you found your heart's the core of your heart of service. So tell us about that.
Yes, I think NGO work, it's not easy. We try to find solutions for long-term problems. However, I do have stories that really make me stay. I have, for example, a story of Nanay Leila from Basilan. We had a program with her wherein she flew to Zamboanga from Basilan. This was the very first time she had rode a plane, first time she left home, first time being away from family. When we first met her, she looked at the chandelier at the hotel and she was getting very nervous. I spoke
She has
to her.
never seen a chandelier before.
Never. And when we worked with her, we taught her business planning, we taught her financial literacy on different programming. I think what we want to do is give women opportunities. And in the case of Nanay Leila, I remember when we received a text from her wherein she said it was the first time she had entered the bank, first time she opened a bank account, first time all 3 children were in school, tuition paid for the entire year. And she even employs different women also in her business. So
I take it she's a single person, single woman, single mother.
no, she is married. However, she doesn't just supplement the salary of her husband, but she's now the breadwinner.
The breadwinner, yes. Okay, yeah. So you have improved her life tremendously.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I'm sure there are many other examples of how helping women, overcome their shyness or their feeling of inferiority with your work.
Yes, sometimes it's not, sometimes we focus so much on women's economic empowerment and the economic side, but sometimes it's also about women finding their voice. I know what that means because, prior to Spark, I never really liked doing interviews or giving speeches. But it's very important to be able to advocate for the causes you believe in. And that's why I do what I do.
Okay, and during that 9 years with Vicky, in what area was she? Did she ask you to work with her?
Well, it really started as I was her operations manager. Then then she didn't have an executive assistant for 3 months. And so I was her EA for 3 months. And in those 3 months, I joined every meeting with her. 24/7 we'd be together and I learned so much from her. And then she offered me to be the executive director. And that's a role that I took on after being a year and a half with Spark.
I see. Okay, so she offered you to be Spark's executive director.
Yes.
Okay. So You mentioned Vicky Gachitorena as your first mentor in a way. So I don't think the audience would know who is Vicky Gachitorena.
So Vicky Garchitorena was the president of Ayala Foundation, longtime president of Ayala Foundation. She also served as managing partner at Ayala Corporation. A very well-respected former cabinet secretary who served under two presidents. And for people who know her, this is a person who has really served her country, and that's why she established Spark Philippines, because even though she had retired from NGO work, she wanted to continue the work through her own nonprofit.
Okay, spark. That's an excellent English word to say, something to start a fire. But is there a name for S and P and A and R and K?
Samahan ng mga Pilipina para sa Reforma at Kaunlaran, or in English, Alliance of Women for Reform and Progress.
Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, so now you know what spark is. It's more than just a flash of fire. Yes, thank you. For women especially.
Yes.
Yes. During that time, have you been able to, aside from being a lawyer, have you been able to expand your knowledge or your skills in terms of educational opportunities?
Yes, that's something that I take pride in. It's a never learning process for me. On the sustainability in Stockholm, Sweden, that was on a scholarship from the Swedish ministry. Last year, I had gotten a scholarship from the U.S. State Department. It is the premier and highest scholarship that is given by the State Department, which is the International Visitor Leadership Program, where I spent 5 weeks at the U.S., really focusing on my work in a nonprofit. And it continues. This December, I'll be doing a program in Israel, which is, of course, with the Israeli embassy.
So all of these are scholarships.
Yes.
They see your potential and they said, you should take this.
Well, I hope so. On different topics. With the State Department, it was really recognition of my work in diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. With the Israeli embassy, it's really on my work in combating gender-based violence. We at Spark are very proud to say that we started the Me Too movement in the Philippines.
The Me Too movement.
Called Respeto Naman. Very basic, meaning respect me. Yes. We worked with UN Women. We worked with then Vice President Leni Robredo, the British and Swedish embassies on this programming.
Wow, very good. And how about the one in Belgium? Did you say Belgium? Sweden. Yes.
Well, in Sweden, we had worked so much with the Swedish embassy. And actually, when Ambassador Harold Fries offered me a scholarship, I turned him down and I said, I don't think I'm that good. Because if you look at the alumni of the Swedish Institute, these are the likes of women I admire, like Zara Juan, Mina Swanepoel, just to name a few. And I told him I wasn't ready. But I'm glad that, they saw potential. And after the scholarship, we learned how to create our programming to do more sustainability and monitoring and evaluation.
So those are very high words, sustainability. So can you give an example of how you empowered women? So that's the gender part of your representation at the UN. Can you give an example?
I think one program I'm very proud of is our work with the women in jails or the persons deprived of liberty. It was something that we had started in 2020. We worked in partnership with the program of Mayor Joy Belmonte and the Quezon City government. It started really with simple goals.
2020, that's the start of the pandemic.
Yes. So this was a time it started with mere hygiene kits, just to make sure that they had access to sanitary napkins, toothpaste, toothbrush, shampoo. Very simple goals. But eventually, I would spend maybe 4 days a month. I would be visiting them, even at the height of COVID, getting PCR tests. Then it became livelihood programs. Then it became distance learning for them to complete their education, whether it's high school or college. Then it turned out into many great programs. I mean, that's one program that me and Mayor Belmonte were recognized by the French government. We were flown by the ministry on Human Rights Day in Paris, where we met President Macron for this recognition.
Okay, so these are things that she was doing in the prison in Quezon City?
Yes.
In Quezon City under Mayor Joy Belmonte.
Yes.
So tell us, how did it move from this? So what actually did, you were giving them sanitary napkin, toothbrush, etc. And it moved along. So what kind of work was it that the French government recognized you?
It's really us giving them their basic human right that despite being behind bars, while waiting for the result of their cases, because these are women whose cases have not been decided with finality, that we give them hope. And the goal is really, to go beyond, look beyond whatever mistake that they have made, that hopefully that when they do go back outside of jail, that they are able to find work, that they're able to sustain their families. And I think that's really the goal that we have.
That they are empowered.
Yes.
Okay, so you give them, how do they study? How do they get their college or their high school diploma or things like that? How did you do that?
So that's in partnership with Quezon City government, where they get their education. We at Spark, how we helped was we used our platforms. We reached out to various embassies, getting laptops, tablets, because all their learning was done online. And we didn't want that 3 or 4 were sharing one laptop. So we reached out to different embassy partners. And many of these ambassadors, I'm very grateful to them because it wasn't even embassy funds also. They decided to reach out to their friends, to private sector partners. And that's where we were able to get the things that they needed for their education.
Okay, I see that you have very good relationship with all of these foreign ministers. How did that happen?
Well, I think it's really doing good work. Many of our partners, like the U.S. Embassy, they've been our partners for more than 11 years now. And they see that the quality of our work, that we really, my senior program manager and I, we always say this, we do beyond what we promise. And that's why we continue to work with them. We work with US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. We work with almost all the European embassies. And also now, including Singapore.
It seems like all of the embassies recognize your worth. How about the Philippine government? Are they not? Are they as blind? Are they blind that they cannot see what the foreign ministers see in you?
Well, I'd like to think not, because I have to say I have the great privilege of working with the best of the best. I work with the best senators. We work with Senator Lauren Legarda. We work with her on women's livelihood. The programs we've done with her has really changed the lives of women in Mindanao and even in Quezon City. With Senator Risa Ontiveros, we worked with her in the passage of the Mental Health Law, on the Safe Space Act. With local government units, led by amazing local chief executives such as Mayor Joy Belmonte, Mayor Abby Binay. And Metro Manila does not have only the best. We work with Mayor Jane Yap of Tagbilaran City in Bohol, with Mayor Jonah Flor Ceriles in Zamboanga del Sur. And these are women who I admire, and I'm also happy that they also want to work with us. And, we have many local government units who reach out to want to work with us. And I think that's a stamp of approval that when you work with Spark, you have good intentions and that you have progressive views.
So can you just explain, I'm wearing this as a gift from Maica Teves, and she tells me it is made by the Mogobo tribe. So can you explain how did it happen that your organization connected with, and the design is beautiful.
Yeah, so that is the design, of course, by the Mogobo tribe, but it's in partnership to one of our favorite partners, our strongest partner actually, designer Zara Juan. That is a product that she makes, but we love to work with her because every product that you buy, it really empowers a community, 3 communities.
So for this one, what do you mean? Because it's made of, nice color. And when I looked over, the design does not only have a mark, but it also has the name of the woman who did this.
Yes.
So it's almost like from one woman to another. So thank you very much for this gift. So tell me again, how is it that you were able to partner first with Sarah Juan very, very well-known designer, almost like Zara, which is the Spanish brand of clothing. So how is it that you were able to connect with her,
Well,
do the design?
Well, we both took the same program. Although different years apart, we were both part of the alumni network of Sweden. But it really came from a friendship that had started. I'll talk about a project that I'm very proud of. During the 2022 elections, Zara she saw that there were many tarpaulin banners. These were for, of course, the candidates for the elections.
Okay, I'll explain. Tarpaulin, because it's very expensive to put it on billboards. So you hire a printer of tarpaulin, and there you have all the candidates' names. All right. So 2022.
And when she had wanted to take down those tarpaulins, she found out she couldn't. She had to work with a local government unit. So she had reached out to me on how we could do that together. There, we reached out to the Quezon City Climate and Sustainability Department. And the goal was really to make 300 bags, upcycle them from tarpaulins. But when we had gone to the landfills, we had discovered that in one district alone, that's 70 tons of tarpaulin.
70 tons of tarpaulin, and they were in the garbage.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. So this has got to do with also, making what could be trash into something different. So what did you do with that?
And that's when we thought, if we're gonna make 300 bags, it's just a drop in the bucket. So we knew we needed to do more, and that is, I think, the gift of what we try to do. We try to bring people to our cause. So what we first started was we get the tarpaulins from the landfills. We bring it to the Quezon City Jail, wherein our persons deprived of liberty clean and cut the tarpaulins.
Are they paid?
Yes, of course. They're actually paid more than they should, and we gladly do that for them. And then we bring the tarpaulins to...
Wait, to clean the tarpaulins, you have to boil them because it's got, vote for this, vote for that with pictures, etc. So how do they clean them?
Just
Water?
just water, just brush it, because of course they came from the trash. So really just remove the dirt, the excess dirt, and then after that we bring it to our artisan women's group in Bulacan, and they paint the bags. And lastly, the
They
third,
paint the bags, meaning they just paint like this, or is there a design?
there's a design. We have 4 different designs. And then after that, the bags are the tarpaulins, which have now been painted, are then transported to our senior citizen group in Barangay Piniahan, Quezon City. These are women who are 70 years old and above, and they assemble these bags. So that's 3 communities that we empower with every bag.
Empower, meaning to say they get paid for doing this.
Yes, so each community gets paid for the work that they do.
So how do you maintain quality control? Because when you paint so many bags, sometimes it's not good. So how is that?
Well, that's something that we have to really teach the women, that they have to take pride in the work that they do. In the case of this project, our team leader is a woman named Filipina. She's 74 years old, and she makes sure that every bag that gets out from the production is perfect.
Great. Yes, quality control. And when you visited me the last time, you gave me such a bag. Could I just show it to the audience? Okay. So here it is. This is made of tarpaulin that was in the trash, but with the design of Cora Juan.
Zara Juan.
Sarah Juan. See, look at this. So good, so sturdy, and vote to tote. See, there is a spark. It says spark there, and to vote to tote. Oh, galing. Vote, meaning to say it came from the tarpaulin to tote. Now it's a tote bag. Brilliant. From Sarah Juan, and with the cooperation of Spark, led by our speaker today, our guest for today, Maica Teves. So that's excellent. So how many? So you said there were tons in that just one district.
Yes.
So did that end there because you finished making these tote bags?
Well, we have now sold more than 14,000 bags from a goal of 300. We have upcycled now more than almost 1 million square meters of tarpaulins. But we didn't end there. When the elections were over, we had reached out to SM, which of course is the biggest mall in the Philippines. And they donate all their tarpaulins to us. And then we said we needed to get more tarpaulins. And we reached out to Shell, the petroleum company, and all their tarpaulins are also given to us. And we also have upcycled.
Meaning to say when they have no more use for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of it going into landfills, the goal is really to upcycle each and every tarpaulin that we can.
And in that manner, you're able to give jobs to the people in the prison to clean it, to the woman in barangay, which one?
Pinyahan.
Pinyahan, to cut it into bags.
Yes.
And to
Yes.
Filipinas to have it sewn into the tote bag that you have seen.
Yeah, that bag has actually been featured in Vogue, and we're very proud of that.
Oh, Vogue magazine, nakaabot na. I mean, it reached there. That's terrific. Okay, so this is something that is continuing still?
Yes, but now we're going into new things. It's a continuing project as we continue to upcycle more tarpaulins. Now the next goal. Now we're working with Mayor Francis Zamora and the local government of San Juan, where we are now going to upcycle old barongs for a Christmas project. And we'd like to do this to make Christmas ornaments. So the goal is really three things. Women's economic empowerment, to make the women earn, but also taking climate action as a priority. So getting rid of these tarpaulins, old barongs, and of course, sustainability, meaning that this isn't just a flash in the pan. These are programs that will continue even without us guiding the women.
So how do you do with old barongs? First of all, why did you choose old barongs?
Well, it's really, Zara who's really the designer. I'm the operations person. So she comes up with the design, and I have the problem of where to get all these old barongs. Yeah.
So how do you get them?
It's really a matter of just calling people, posting. A lot of people want to help. Do you know that when we had posted it, we have people who shared the post, and then there's a woman who I don't even know. She said, let me know where you're going to donate all the barongs, because I will ship it from anywhere in the country to make it reach to your program.
So she is in the business of shipping things.
Not even.
No?
She just really believes in the program. And we're very grateful to people who support us.
So what do you do with barongs then? How is it that you're saying it becomes Christmas ornaments?
Yes. They're going to be Christmas toppers. But
Like a star?
yes. Yeah, but it also reaches different things. Program I'm very passionate about now is period poverty. It's something that I found out when I was studying in Sweden. I tried to buy a sanitary napkin and I couldn't find one. They said either it was the menstrual cup or the reusable sanitary napkin, and I had tried it, and I found out that when I did my program in Kenya, in Nairobi, I found out the Philippines was actually one of the top 5 in period poverty.
In period poverty, meaning to say that when the woman has a period, they are very poor.
Yeah.
And therefore they have nothing.
Yeah. So that's when I found out they have no access to sanitary products. So that's when we have a project now, which is supported by the Swiss Embassy. I'm very grateful to the Swiss Embassy because actually Vote to Tote, the reusable sanitary napkin project, many crazy ideas, which I thought were crazy ideas, they supported. And of course, very successful programs. So with the reusable sanitary napkins, just same thing. Another group of our women in jail make the napkins, and we give these sanitary napkins to far-flung communities in the Philippines. These are communities that otherwise could not afford to buy a sanitary napkin.
Wow. So what happens if they, when the young girls and women have their period, what do they do?
Many of them, either they use towels, or they use leaves or old newspapers, or even use long-term, they use their napkins on long-term use. And this is very unhygienic. And this is also our way of getting more napkins out of the landfill by having reusable sanitary napkins, but at the same time to teach them a different way that they're able to, because many of them don't go to school when they have their napkins. And us at Spark, girls' rights and education is a very important advocacy. We want to support our girls because, empowered women start off by inspired and supported girls.
That's wonderful. Terrific. Okay, so from one thing leads to another. I see that you're wearing, seems like a Filipina inspired jacket.
Yes.
So can you just tell how is that? Is that also coming from your work?
Well, no. This is made by Ret Ayala. I don't know him personally, but one advocacy that I have is every time I'm anywhere in the world, I try to use a Filipiniana. I'm very proud to be Filipina, and I carry our flag proudly wherever I go. So, in platforms such as this, I try to use Filipino-made products.
Okay, so that's a good for those who are listening, Filipino Americans and other Filipinos in the diaspora. In cases where you are being presented, it would be good to use something coming from the Philippines. In this case, this is coming from the indigenous tribe of the Mogobos. Yes, thank you. That's a good aspect. Now, all of these are happening. Is there a possibility of moving along to other areas like your work with women in prison? Okay, so the women in Quezon City are very fortunate because when they go out, they have something already. They have earning something. So are you not thinking of maybe spreading that kind of activity for women in prison?
Yes. Actually, just 2 weeks ago, we signed a memorandum of agreement. We're now also starting our programs at the San Juan City Jail. But this time, we upped the challenge. We're not just working with women, persons deprived of liberty, but now we're also working with the men.
Oh, really? Men in prison?
Yes.
Yes, good. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I hear, even in the United States. Because in the United States, they use prisoners, right, to do work that's sold by corporations, but they are paid very little. So in one way, you have something better
Yeah.
than what's happening in the United States.
Yeah. It gives them dignity. They're able to buy things for themselves, whether it's a hygiene kit. We have a mother, she pays for the rent of her children. And it gives them dignity when they can, when they have a source of living, even despite being behind bars.
Yes, no, that's excellent. Our Philippine government, have they recognized you that you're doing so much work? That foreign embassies are giving you awards, including France, President Macron.
Just recently, I was appointed by the Philippine government, by the president, to the MSME Council to represent the women's sector. And I think,
Then you have to explain what is MSNB.
yes. So this is a policy. We are a board. We have, of course, the members of the board is the president, the Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Department of Trade and Industry. We have the youth sector, different finance people, and it's really focused on how we can improve policies and programming for small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. Yes.
SMS is small and medium-sized enterprises.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's the key. That's the small and medium-sized enterprises really make the country, move and earn.
Yes, and a big percentage of those MSMEs are women-owned, women-led, predominantly owned by women or not hire women. So this is why this is an opportunity that I really took on.
But don't they have problems with financing? I mean, if you want to start a business, you need money to start it. So how is that problem being solved?
Well, we work with different private sector partners. For example, we have a program with the U.S. State Department, with the U.S. Embassy. We call it the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, wherein we train different women. More than 450 women have now graduated all over the Philippines for this program. So we have the story, for example, of Everly. Everly, before the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, before we worked with her, had a stall in front of her house selling chicken. And just 2 weeks ago, we launched a new cohort, and Everly shared her journey. From having a food cart in front of her home, she now has a store in UP Techno Hub. She has two other stores in Quezon City. And because of the confidence that was built by the training, she even has 2 franchises.
What did she learn that she didn't know before that enabled her to multiply her stores?
Yeah, it really started in computing how much it took to run her business. And many times women forget to pay themselves. They forget that they have to pay when they go to the store to buy the raw materials, their time spent on making the product. And one thing that I remember was she said, this program, when I used to talk, I couldn't make sense of what I was saying. I kept repeating myself. This time it was a clear, concise message of what she wanted. And she said when she spoke better, that's when she was able to pitch her product. And that's why people took on and invested and became franchisees of her business.
That's great. Yeah, so that's really women empowerment. If you give them the opportunity, they will shine.
Yes.
Yes, that's terrific. This small and medium-sized business is a very powerful organization. So you said the Philippine government appointed you.
Well, one day they reached out to me, and
Who they?
First the Philippine Commission on Women, and they had said the president wanted to appoint me to represent the women's sector at MSN's council. And to be honest, we're a very small NGO, but I'd like to take pride that we do good work. And they reached out to us. They reached out to me, and they asked me to be the representative, and that's how we came about to be a representative in the council.
Okay, so you mean to say you were recommended very highly? There was no padrino that says, Maica, I'll see that the president appoints you.
No, I can proudly say we got this on our own merit.
Yes, very good. That's great. I'm glad because all the other foreign countries, the ministers recognize you. So finally, the president recognized you and appointed you without any padrino.
Yes. On another note, I'd like to share to show you how we have with the leadership of Mayor Joy Belmonte and our programming, how it has changed. This is a jail that the Minister of Human Rights of the Netherlands has visited. Our own First Lady in the Philippines has visited. Just last month, the First Lady of Singapore has visited. That's to show you the success of our programming in the jail.
And what do they see?
Well, they see how it's not just livelihood. It's not just taking care of self-development. They see education. They see the different programming that we're doing. I think.
And they see the women?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And, if you get the chance to go and visit this jail, you'll never see a sad person. They love to perform when they have guests over. They dance, they sing. They even have a parlor inside.
A beauty parlor?
Yes. So what happens is when the women earn from the livelihood, they now have a system. So they were trained by TESDA to do manicure, pedicure, how to hair dye. We have a partnership with a cosmetic company who gave us the hair dye and all the different makeups. And what happened is, so when the women earn from the livelihood, they're able to go to the parlor, have their hair done, have their nails done. And when they do that, the woman at the parlor who gives the service also earns. So everybody happy.
That's great. Yes. The resurrection of women who were just, prisoners or moaning and things like that. So Maica has transformed a prison for women into a livelihood, into women empowered with joy and self-empowerment. Yeah. So they're not, yes, they may be prisoners, but they do their time and they make good use of their time.
Yes.
Thank you to Maica Teves and Spark. Salamat. Is there anything else that you are thinking of, for the next 5 years?
Well, there's always ideas that I want to do. Many of them seem crazy, but they've really succeeded. I think for the next 5 years, it's really, different programming. We now have private sector partners who believe in our programs. I'd want to see, I wish we were a bigger organization so we had a bigger reach. But right now, it's really improving right now with the current projects that we have and really working in more communities. I really want to expand more programs in Mindanao, specifically the BARM area.
BAM. Can you explain what BAM is?
Yes, it's the Bangsamoro region. This is, of course, where peace and order. And I really believe that an empowered woman, with the chances of her getting into violent extremism and the like could be lessened.
Right. Okay. Empowering women. So, Bansang Moro is the Muslim community, which unfortunately in a Catholic country like the Philippines become our people who are discriminated against. You would say that. Okay. So you're reaching out to them too.
Yes.
Very nice. So I am so happy to have Maica Teves, but her full name is really Micaela.
Yes, I was named after my abuelita, my grandmother, Maria Luisa Carmen. So she actually chose my name. So I have a very long name thanks to her.
Yes. And would you say that she is one of those that influence your being what you have now, aside from your grandfather on both sides and grandmother on both sides of your family who were really into public service? How would you say your abuelita has influenced you?
When I was told that women in the Philippines have it harder than many other women in the world, I didn't believe. Because my grandmother, I was a very empowered woman. I didn't even know that glass ceilings existed because she just did whatever she wanted to do.
Here we have her granddaughter, Maica Teves, doing everything she can do to help others. So, salamat. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have a chance to sit down with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be? This is from Charmaine D.
It would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. RBG, definitely, without a doubt.
Because?
A strong advocate against gender disparity who didn't just advocate up to empower women, but also to advocate for men who were discriminated upon.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the first woman in the Supreme Court. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. And when she graduated from law school, she was magna cum laude. Nobody would hire her, so she had to teach. But she was also the first one who challenged the discrimination against women all the way up to the Supreme Court. So that's a woman you would like to sit down with. The next question is from Melly N. What would you say is the biggest challenge in running a not-for-profit organization to empower women?
To be honest, it's sometimes burnout. NGO work, it's very hard. You are focusing on problems with long-term solutions, and many times you lose inspiration. That's really one of the things, the challenge. But I think I have to look at the pot at the end of the rainbow and to remember the different stories of women who we've empowered, and that's what keeps us going.
So burnout, that is a big problem. So how do you handle that? What do you do for fun?
Well, different things. I love to travel. At the end of the day, I like to have an ice cold beer. Many people who know me know that. That's how I tend to relax.
Yes. So you have not mentioned anything. How's your love life?
I'd say it's doing quite well.
Thank you. I will not go any further. So now you have it. Someone who's devoted her life to doing good for the impoverished, for the underrepresented, for those who have no voice. And that is Maica Teves of SPARK. SPARK in Tagalog. What is it again?
Samahan ng mga Pilipina para sa reforma at kaunlaran.
All right. Alliance of Women for Reform and Progress. So, this is Loida Lewis Podcast. Live, love, laugh, and learn together. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV. Executive produced by Laura Nicholas Olace. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together